Yesterday, USUncut.com revealed that a pro-Clinton super PAC called Correct the Record is going to be spending $1 million to organize a group of professionals and volunteers to engage online with their political opponents, to correct them when they're wrong. $1 million is going to be spent on that, and we find out that although they didn't have as big funding leading up to the announcement yesterday, they have been doing it already. Which means that when you, through the course of this primary, have been engaging with supposed Hillary supporters, thinking that these are regular people who support her based on her experience and her policy objectives, no, a lot of them were actually campaign workers who were funded by a super PAC, correct the record, probably others as well, who then pose as regular Clinton supporters online. Now, I have a lot of experience engaging with these sorts of people, which I'll get to in just a minute. But one interesting thing that I want to get to first is $1 million being pushed out there specifically to support one candidate, Hillary Clinton, online, to pretend that she has more support than she actually does. You might wonder, how the hell is this even possibly legal? And it turns out that they are making the argument that this is not coordination with the Hillary Clinton campaign. That word that is supposed to be the one protection against super PAC money being effectively Hillary Clinton's money in this case. And even that protection doesn't account for anything. It doesn't account for shit when you actually get into the campaign. They can spend the money however they want. It might as well have been donated to Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton, who says that she is against Citizens United, says that she will overturn Citizens United, benefiting massively from Citizens United already. And yeah, so they're going to be able to spend that money. They say, by the way, that they've already corrected 5,000 Bernie Sanders supporters, which, by the way, is meant to sound impressive, but I've seen the crowds in the real world that Bernie Sanders has drawn, and I know the range and the breadth of his support online, which actually represents, with 5,000, that ain't nothing. But we've all experienced this. We all know what it's like to talk to her supporters online. I'm probably going to have to use those quotation marks from now on because I don't know what percentage are actually real people. But I know what their tactics are, and I know what it's like to try to argue with them. And I have to say that it's been incredibly frustrating to see from supposedly the left the tactics and the disregard for facts, the disregard for reality that we normally associate with the right wing. And so during debates, very often, I will live tweet them and I will try to lend support to what Bernie Sanders says. If Hillary Clinton makes a good point, I acknowledge it. But when she lies, when she misrepresents Bernie Sanders' position, I will then say that. And then the Clinton supporters come out of the woodwork, the supporters. And their first tactic, in almost all cases, is to say that you are being a sexist. It doesn't matter if you're talking about an issue that has anything remotely to do with women. And I would like to point out, as I have before, that on many of these women's issues, Bernie Sanders supporters are stronger supporters of the women, in this particular case, of the issues. For instance, they have a stronger devotion to protecting women's reproductive rights than Hillary Clinton supporters. You'll never hear the Hillary Clinton supporters actually acknowledge that. And so if you say that she shouldn't have given the big speeches to Goldman Sachs and other Wall Street banks, that her devotion to them, her attachment to them, even in the year leading up to her announcement that she was going to run for the presidency, means that she might be compromised in some fashion, well, then you're being a sexist because supposedly you don't criticize men in that same way, which implies to me that, one, their attachment to getting money out of politics is not nearly as strong as they have implied that it is, and two, they have no familiarity with my work personally or on the Young Turks, because that is basically one of our driving values, one of our driving ideals is to get money out of politics. And we certainly criticize the men that take the money. Now, generally, the ones who are getting huge amounts of money from a single industry are more likely to be Republicans. And so, yes, we generally do criticize the Republicans more. But Obama, we don't like his attachment to Wall Street at all. And so to say that it's sexist is, on the face of it, ridiculous. Then it's the shifting goalpost. And so yesterday I was watching an argument that Katie Halper, who was on the Young Turks coverage of the New York primary recently, she was talking with a Hillary Clinton supporter who was saying that Bernie Sanders' tone in the campaign is awful and you're not allowed to attack a Democrat in that way. So Katie Halper points out, well, Hillary was far worse in her treatment of Obama back in 2008. So then instantly, the Hillary Clinton supporter went from, oh, you can't be mean to Democrats, to, oh, that was back in 2008, so it doesn't count, which doesn't make sense. Katie Halper pushed more, and then the supporter said, well, that was in the heat, that was a heated campaign, so of course it's allowed. What campaign are we in now? It's infuriating to have to deal with people who don't care about the facts. They don't care about intellectual consistency. They don't care about the ideals, the values that are supposed to drive us. Whether you're a Hillary Clinton supporter or a Bernie Sanders supporter, we're supposed to share certain important values. Not just political values, but just normal values that transcend politics, an attachment to the facts, a desire to be consistent. And unfortunately, we've seen that breakdown in this primary, and the perhaps worse off is that if Hillary Clinton does end up winning the primary, I don't think that it's going anywhere. I think that her supporters have been trained to engage with their opponents, whether on the right or on the left, in this way. They've staked out this position. They've found the easy ways to defend her by simply saying, oh, you're being unfair because she's a woman. And I don't think that they're going to disarm themselves once the primary is over if she ends up winning. And that is incredibly disheartening. Whether it's an independent supporter or whether it's Correct the Record's paid online trolls, that is not how we're supposed to operate as a party. That's not how our half of the political spectrum is supposed to operate. It's a disappointing day to find out that there's big money going into this, and we need to fight back in whatever way we can.